And welcome into episode 40 of the Avetts and Beyond here on Rockin' the Suburbs Radio. My name is Todd Emanuele, and this is a milestone episode, I guess, reaching episode 40. And I have a very special guest joining me for the second time on the show. Avett Brothers archivist Tim Mossberger is here. Tim, thank you so much for stopping in again.
I'm glad to be here. I'm not sure I can follow last episode, but I'll do my best.
You're the perfect person to have follow Colleen. Colleen Hoover was awesome last week.
Yeah.
That was so nice of her to come on. I can't get over that she decided or, agreed to come on and actually followed through and came on the show. And we took it all the way up to number 1 on the charts. That was pretty cool this week. Not that it means anything, but it was pretty cool.
She probably doesn't remember, but she sent me tickets in 2012.
Really?
I had a ticket, but I was looking for an extra ticket for my wife, and she sent me like 4 tickets.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Just randomly. She's such a nice, normal person, which I've never met her before, so I didn't know what to expect, but I've heard things like that about her. And she was just like, I'm not a celebrity. I'm just a person that writes books. And I thought that was really cool. Anyway, Tim, thank you so much for coming on. You're a busy guy, family man, and doing the archivist stuff with the Avett Brothers. You got the Patreon page going. You got the database that you are one of the main people for. What else have you been up to lately with all this stuff?
It really just continues on. I've been keeping track of tracking on this year's set list, which has been difficult.
Yeah.
Since the outlaw music shows are tough to get, like usually I knew a ton of people going to shows and I can be like, contact any number of people and someone else keeping track of it. Or if I get, a copy of the pre-show set list and like what changes were made, that is getting harder. There had to be last Saturday's show, like I didn't have the set list. It got to the next day. It's been at least the Australia shows in 2010 was the last time I didn't get a set.
That had to be tough though.
I was like sweating it. And then obviously I contacted Justin Glanville, the sound guy, and he sent me a picture of the pre-show set list, and that helped.
So you had something to go off of.
Memory of people who were there to be like, oh, this was played, this wasn't played. And there were only a couple changes.
How many people were there that you actually knew in Australia? That's a long ways away.
No, I didn't know anybody. That's why I didn't get the set list.
Yeah, well, right.
That's the last time I didn't get it.
And what's the time difference is what, like 21 hours or something crazy?
And, obviously then I wasn't necessarily keeping track of every set list, but we didn't have a set list from those.
Yeah, well, that's not a surprise, I guess.
But
the festival shows they've got to be tough to a certain degree, but they've been kind of predictable, those set lists. So you can almost pick that, especially knowing what they always play.
Well, once if like Mickey Raphael's playing, I know, although he started playing on Salvation Song, which is nice.
That was something different.
So so that's a change.
But the last couple sorry, go on.
No, that's good.
I was just gonna say the last couple of shows there, the festival show, the Outlaw Festival, they played like extended sets, didn't they? For what those normally are?
Like 20 songs or 19 songs, and which is a little more than the like 15 or 14.
See, that's what you normally get at those, right? Like 15 songs most.
Yeah.
So is it just because they had a little layoff there and they wanted to play more, or they just had more time?
I don't know who else is on the bill. I couldn't tell you. Yeah.
Well, that's cool stuff. So one of the things we wanted to talk about, or you wanted to talk about, especially tonight, because you've been working on the 2014 yearbook for your Patreon people,
and for anybody's able to get it, but as long as until they sell out.
Okay, well, and how many of them do you make? It's A, not cheap to make, and B, there's only so many, right?
Which is why I do have most people pre-order it, and then I order like 15 packs to cover any lost in the mail / get a couple signed by the band to donate.
That's cool.
And then whatever I have left, someone can buy. That's all I can really afford to do. I can't. And then, I can't really do like a second printing of like 10. I'd have to do 100, and I'm not going to probably move 100.
I bet you would, though.
I wouldn't. No. Not with it. Just, there's not enough people. And, but there's enough people to keep it going. Only if I do 50, I'll keep it going.
How did they get lost in the mail? Like I've had that happen to me a couple of times.
No.
And I mean, it's just mail, but it seems to
Well,
happen all the time.
yeah, well, which is why I didn't send these media mail. I send them first class, so they get there faster.
Are the mailmen just stealing them?
I don't know. Well, part of it was during, the first one that got lost a bunch was during COVID, where things seem to be a mess.
Well, the
So,
post office did have some issues there, and they probably still do have issues with
but
being
yeah, but
shorthanded.
yeah,
I know around here they've been shorthanded for a
yeah.
while.
So I finished the 2014, which is
Nice.
here, and pretty much I just go through and you get all the set lists, the posters, any information about the show, who were the band members at the show, who performed, uh, information about just anything, if something interesting happened at the show. And there's pictures from all the shows and information about each song. And just I tried to go through the whole year. I tried to include some stage banter, so it includes, it takes me months and months to go through every show. And part of that also helps me correct any mistakes on the database. Maybe something was wrong, in the set list, or just to double check everything.
The details are amazing that you
Yeah. And
put
then hunt
right in
down
there.
pictures, any information about it. And it helps me with future things of when I look at, like, say, February 20th, they played in St. Louis. I can see, it helps me double check, are there any interviews out there that they did on the St. Louis newspaper?
Oh, okay.
Anything like that, I double check, and just I learned more about who else was there. Do I know any fans were there? Were there any fan stories for me to keep track of?
How
So
many
all that kind of
pages?
stuff
How many
is in
pages is the 2014 yearbook?
it. 74.
And how much? I mean, that took you months to put all this
Yeah, it took
together.
me a lot, to go through it, because I'm going through like every song, every video, every show I have to listen to. I'm going through everything, trying to make sure, that everything's right, like who all played on it. Especially when you have, in 2004, okay, 2014, I'll say about that year. Obviously, it's the start of them as a 7-piece band, because you got
That was the
Mike
year, huh?
Marsh.
Okay.
Yeah, because Mike Marsh would started obviously 2013, so this would
Okay.
be his second full year. Paul was still in the band, and then Tanya, she played some shows at the end of 2013, and then misses, plays a couple shows in February, but then misses most of February and March. But then she's for the rest of the year, she's at most of the shows. So it's most of them as a 7-piece. This is the year of them as a 7-piece band.
Nice. So that I imagine that's a focus then of the issue, a lot of that.
Well, I mean, that just goes into part of it of like, so anytime, say, I break down each song. So like when they played Joe Clark on a show that she wasn't there, well, when I break down the song, they performed it, 5 times without her and 32 times with her, kind of thing. So all
Wow,
that information
that's
is kind
cool.
of in there. But then there's other information. The other big thing about the year is really the start of the 3-night runs is from that year.
Okay.
You got 4 of them. It's the first year they did Red Rocks as a 3-night run. So, and I got, how many repeats there were for the 3 nights.
What did they do before that? Did they only do one night?
They did 2. They did 2 in 2013 and 12. They did 2 nights.
Oh, okay.
So then it started in 2014 as a 3-night run, and then they did the St. Louis, Louisville, and Las Vegas. So there were 4 that year, and there was one other. There's 2017. They did 4 also. So this was a big year, but this was the start of it. The St. Louis one was kind of the first one they did, and with the hopes of obviously, I remember them giving an interview before it saying, obviously a chance for them to play more songs for the same number of people, to have 3 nights in the same place, so they're not traveling, and they get to stay. So all those that was kind of the behind it, and a chance for fans to also be in the same place for 3 nights.
Sure, which is great. Do you think now, like looking at this year, would they only do 2 3-night runs this year? Or was it more than that? I know they did Red Rocks and Wolf Trap.
Was Wolf Trap 3, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 3.
Yeah.
So that was
I
it.
mean,
Do you think
I
it's
think
them getting older, having kids
I
growing
think
up
COVID kind of changed everything, and we'll see
and
what
COVID?
the future brings, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Because they really haven't announced anything for next year yet, right?
No, which isn't surprising for them. I mean, their way of booking, especially since family, kids, and Bob, and
Sure.
I think they are kind of, let's plan out a few months, and then these few months. But I think with the new album, I would expect a little more next year, less festivals, more shows and hopefully some 3-night runs for fans and a chance for them to play as
Yeah,
the catalog gets even bigger.
right. Will they
You
play
would
some
like to
new stuff
hope
though?
that they, go back to mixing it up more, because like I said, there's been a lot of complaints and I've gotten a lot of complaints
I was just gonna
this year
ask you about
about the
that.
set list.
Yeah,
But I will say this, it's not like this hasn't happened. I think 2013, I remember getting lots of complaints, people complaining a lot.
really.
It happens. They go through, again, and the big change this year would be the number of shows. They
Hmm.
just haven't playing as many shows. So you're not getting those, say, 10 shows where they did mix it up a ton.
Right.
Because instead of playing 92 shows, playing 60. I mean, it's like 30 less shows.
Oh,
So
right,
you're not
exactly.
getting those extra shows where they feel like, ooh, tonight, let's mix up these things. Let's put in
Do you
these.
think that they're not mixing it up because they are working on new music and it's just easy for them to, I don't want to say they're just mailing it in because I don't think they are.
I don't think they are. I think, well, they started, originally started, especially with the, like, say they go in, Vanity and the Kick Drum Heart
Right.
for like the 300th time. I think some of that has to do with, they're trying to really play those exactly how they want to play them.
And I think Seth
Goes into a
really
lot of
likes
it.
playing his
Yeah,
electric
and it's like a
guitar.
combination of them liking to play it and them being great at it.
Right.
So, and I just think, you got to look at it as a long haul. We're talking, over 20 years touring. Is you can't it's going to have its ups and downs, and they're not a jam band playing for, one
Right.
song for 10 minutes and it always being,
Right.
massively different and who knows where it goes. That's not what they're doing. So I just try to look at the bigger picture. Like, a time will come where it'll swing back and people will be excited again. People who've been to 50, 100 shows will be like, oh my God, they played My Losing Bet. Amazing.
That would be cool.
They played Pretty Girl from Annapolis. Holy cow. That will come back. But another thing that's in the yearbook is I include as many little changes and, like, add-ons to the lyrics as I can, like, say, the Battle, Love, and Hate. After the line, I see you or I won't, whatever, Seth adds, because it's cool to be indifferent, isn't it? And another time, after the line, love has been waiting, patient and kind, he adds, as always. And then after, because he might never see her again, he
Right.
adds, but you got to be optimistic. So
So
those
I've
kind of,
never
like,
heard that one.
lyric changes throughout the year. And I get, that's in there in the date that it happened.
Yeah.
That kind of information, anytime they change something, even or add change, they make, like, Scott changes more lines than Seth probably, especially in songs like Left
Oh, he
on Laura.
definitely does. And I notice now
Um,
in Untitled 4, he always adds in aspiring to be.
yeah,
I
yeah,
sing that along with the song now
yeah.
whenever he plays aspiring to
So,
be.
but Seth has some add, like, parts like that. He may not change the line, but he adds on little bits, and
Sure, sure.
sometimes in the curve ballad, like, those happen, and obviously listen to a lot. So I'm like, I hear them, and I make, so that kind of stuff is in there.
It's funny, like going back and listening to old record, like the first time they played a certain song that Scott always adds in extra lines and he didn't.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's weird because I'm like saying the part that he always says and he didn't put it in there because it was the first time they played it live or whatever. I think that's funny. But yeah, boy, he likes to add lyrics in a lot.
Yeah. I don't know if that's because he forgets some of the lyrics or just says what he wants to say at a given time. But
Yeah. So anyway, back to the yearbook. What else did you have? Something else there with the add-ons?
no, I mean, that's kind of the gist of it all. I mean, there's
Yeah.
obviously pictures and, from the shows, and, it's filled of that. And, the other thing I'll say about 2014, which if people went to shows at that time, the other big thing was the fan signs. That was the big thing. That was kind of the thing of that year. People
Okay.
brought signs and the band put them up on stage. So
Okay.
the piano and things were just covered in signs from
So
the
that
crowd.
some of those signs are still up there then, right?
Yeah, but there was, like, in 2014, there was, I mean, everything was covered. There was a lot. It
Oh,
got
that's
to the
funny.
point where, I mean, I don't even know how many were up there, but the pianos, and I saw, you can see pictures in it of the side of the piano, the front of the piano, kind of pictures in there of that. And that's the year where, the sign of, you changed your music changed my life sign is from that year that Seth is holding on stage.
I've seen that
That
picture
happened.
before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's from that year. I mean, that's what that year, the big thing when I think of that year, that's one of the things that comes up to me is that, like, I remember, oh, that's the fan signs.
Whose sign was that?
uh Tony, I'm gonna butcher her last name. I don't remember.
I've seen something in one of the groups
Yeah, I mean,
about that.
I don't know how to pronounce her last name. I would feel
Okay.
horrible. I don't think I've ever heard her last name said, so I don't know how to say it.
Yeah, you think you know these people, and then you hear how their names are pronounced. It's like, what? Oh, that's how
Yeah,
you say that.
yeah, but yeah,
That's a great picture of him holding that
yes,
sign. I've seen that one
yeah,
many times. Very cool.
but
So what else happened in 2014? That seems like that was a big, like, pivotal year, a big change to the band and how things went.
yeah, I mean, that's to me, the other big sound wise change would be, Paul really starts to play the organ a lot more. So you get that and Head Full of Dow, and just like his contribution really expands.
I
I mean,
love the
they get to
organ
Oregon in
sound.
2013, and then it really starts to show up quite a bit this year. So, and they got, I mean, I just think that was a pretty good year. I mean, there was a good mix of covers. A whole,
What were some of the covers from 2014?
one of my favorite is, obviously I sent you, is "Be Kind to a Man When He's Down."
Love
That's a
that
good
song.
one.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, we'll get
my
into the
favorite part of
songs you
that,
picked here in a minute, but
yeah,
you picked some good stuff.
at
But
the end of that one, you get, Seth says, "Bring it home, Bob." That's probably my favorite part. But obviously they ended a lot of shows with "Good Night, Sweetheart." That was probably the big theme of the year as far as ending it. Most of the years ended with that song, and that started at, obviously, at New Year's.
right.
And then they carried it through most of 2014, where they cover that's the big cover of the year, really.
That was the No Hard Feelings of 2014.
Yeah.
Ended every show.
Yes. Not quite every show, but I mean, definitely, I have it in here how many shows. I'd have to find it. I don't actually have it memorized offhand, but
And Goodnight Sweetheart.
41 of the 79 shows.
Oh, that's a good chunk of them, but
Yeah.
that's also a lot of them that they didn't play it
Yeah.
at the end.
So,
So yeah, that's one of the songs you picked too that we're gonna hear.
yeah.
And again, I will talk about these songs more, but hearing that song and hearing the low part, the deep voice, I did not realize. I asked you last night. I'm like, who is that that's singing that? And you told me that it's Seth, and that blew me away.
I remember, man, I remember that New Year's when they first played it. Obviously, people talked to show, everyone laughed. That was the big comment of that night. I remember multiple people saying, "Oh my God, I didn't see Seth singing that part," but it's him.
In my mind it was Bob, I guess. I didn't know who it was.
No,
And you said Seth. I'm like,
it's Seth.
really? But now
Yeah.
that I've listened to it a few times since you said that, and it's Seth. I can hear that it's him. But that's good stuff. All right. So how can people get the yearbook if they aren't a Patreon member, or do they
Well, I
have to
have
be
it
a
on.
Patreon
Well,
member?
there's only about 4 left in
Oh,
the
okay.
site, is it the big, the big cartel or whatever that's called site, whatever site I have it on. I only have like 4 available.
Oh,
So
wow. Yeah, so they may be gone by the time this even
yeah.
airs tomorrow. Anyway, if people do want to join your Patreon page, though, it's patreon.com/long story short. There's different tiers, but you can give any amount that you want, which I think is great to help you out and
Yeah.
keep things going, because this is not an easy thing to
And then
keep going.
like Saturday, the issue 43 should be up, and we'll discuss, and it covers the 10-year anniversary of Magpie and the Dandelion.
Very cool.
I'd look at look back at Souls Like the Wheels, and what's behind that song, and why it got the live version got chosen to make the album. Who was the person that really chose it? It would be, how many songs they went through, just information like that, information
that's
about it.
cool.
And then you can watch all 30 late night performances,
Which is
that
cool.
they've done since 2007. Since I recently got the last one I needed, was Laundry Room from the Craig Ferguson show. So now we've in the archive, I have all 30 late night show appearances.
How were you not able to get that before? Was it just not available on YouTube?
Yeah, nobody had it. And then it wasn't anywhere online. It's not on.
Right, that's crazy, because like everything's available everywhere.
Everything's not available. Even most of the YouTube takes down everything.
Seems like it. Oh, that's true.
It takes down just a ton of things. But everything, lots of things are up there. Like if I the February 7th performance on Letterman
Hmm.
isn't up online until I found it. Until I actually had saved on an old computer and I
Oh
found it like
wow.
a few years ago.
Uh,
But back in 2009, I don't even think I could have downloaded that. I mean, I had the Letterman, but I couldn't download the Craig Ferguson one. And then I usually, for some of them that I was missing, there's the TV archive in San Francisco, and you can order basically, they'll send you a DVD of a show, of a full, like the whole Tonight Show or whatever. But
oh
they didn't have it either. They didn't have that Craig Ferguson show. They don't have everything, but they
wow.
have they try to back up every TV show. And but they didn't have that. And then the only people that had it was David Letterman's company, production company, who owned the rights. But it
That
wasn't
worldwide pants
digitized.
or whatever they are.
Yeah, they didn't digitize it and wanted money, a bunch of money, and that was a few years ago.
So how did you end up getting it?
Basically, I was online looking at. I mean, still looked all the time, and tried to like contact people, and I found someone under the title of like Craig Ferguson Archive. I
Yeah.
contacted them. They didn't have it, but they were like, "Oh, well, we'll try." And this was a year ago easily that I sent out an email to them, and then all of a sudden they sent me an email. We got it. And I was like, oh
That's
my gosh,
that's
I
awesome.
can't believe it.
So you're like,
So
were you the only
shout
person
out.
looking for it? And
Oh, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure maybe they would have got to it, but they wouldn't have got to it obviously for the Avett Brothers performance. I mean, that
right.
wasn't nothing to them. So,
And so
but
that had to be
I
like,
was looking for it.
yeah, that had to be like Christmas morning for you when you got that
Yeah,
email.
I was in shock. I'm like, oh my God, we're gonna watch it, please. And then my hope was that it wasn't like cut off or something,
Gosh, yeah,
like the video wasn't shorter or something. And no, they had a good quality version. So
that's
I was
cool.
pretty happy.
Yeah, I
But
watched those.
obviously,
I went through the list of all the live performances and watched them all. That was really cool to see. There's some really really good performances in there
yeah.
too.
So yeah, I made it like a video of all 30 in a row. So you can just watch it from the first one to the newest one. So
And that's on one of
that'll
your
be in the issue. Like you can
yeah,
just watch all
the
because
digital,
it's
and
been
not, you do these hardbound issues, but there's digital issues all in between.
where you
And
get audio, where you get videos and stuff. Like I said, you can there's like a 2 hour video you can watch now and just watch every late night performance.
that's awesome. And yeah, I sat there and watched it. That's good stuff. Now you also are very nice, and you put my show in your digital uh magazines.
I just I can't get the Mixcloud to let me. I tried to embed it.
Oh, it won't. It
And
still
I
won't
get
do
an
that.
error mode. I always get like an error, like whether it won't work or
Uh,
whatever. I don't know. I can't get it to work. I got to figure out something. It's always on my list to figure it out and do it better. I just need
well,
some time.
the YouTube videos at least are out there that you
Yeah,
can.
so I should just put those in there. But I wanted to put the whole show so you get the
Right
music
now,
and
I know
kind of get everything.
that's the
But
better version
but
because you
when
get everything.
I just gotta. I don't know.
Mixed
There's got to be a way. I gotta be doing something wrong.
Mixcloud could just be weird too. I don't know. I've never tried to
Well, I
embed.
used to be able to embed stuff because for a while I put some audio and stuff on Mixcloud and it would work just fine. And
Hmm,
but for whatever reason,
I don't know.
it just doesn't work. But I'll try
Well,
to figure it out. I got to
yeah,
get it in there.
at least throw Colleen Hoover up on there.
Yeah, I'll get it. I'll get it worked out.
I appreciate that. It's really cool, and this has been so much fun doing this, and it's awesome to hear that people actually like it. I'm just doing this. I miss doing radio, so it was fun
Yeah.
to get back into it, and this has just been a blast. So I appreciate you coming on again and talking. Now we are running out of time, of course,
Okay.
because this always goes super fast. Now you picked a bunch of songs for the episode. Um, Tell me which songs you picked. Do you have your list in front of you?
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I have it though. I'm always prepared. I have the list in front of me. So I want to hear why you picked these songs, who you picked and why you picked them. And the first one is Charlie Crockett, Odessa.
I just really love that song. He's one of the few new artists that I probably listen to.
He's really good.
There's not many things I listen to, and that would be one of them. So
Your music taste is eclectic. Can I say that?
yeah, sure.
I
Sure.
love you listen to like everything, anything and everything.
Well, not, I don't know if I say that because I don't listen to a whole lot of stuff from today, really. I mean, I
Well,
listen to some
okay.
things, but probably not most things most Avid fans listen to.
But
Um,
you're not a Taylor Swift fan?
I don't know. I mean, I've never really listened to any of it, so I mean, I don't have any
Me
problem with
either.
her, but
I
that's
I
not
can name
probably
like
not my
one song, I
thing.
think.
I don't want to have enough time on them. I have, thousands of albums I would like to hear, and that doesn't fit in, I guess. That's all.
All right, the next
But
song you
he
picked was Charles Goodwin, All Again.
was also an Avett fan,
Nice.
and that's my favorite album at the moment. So, and it's recorded at Echo Mountain, where the Avett Brothers have recorded a
Oh
few
yeah.
times. And
Okay.
I think there's some YouTube videos where he's playing one of Seth's guitars. You know,
Seth just
but
left it there, or
no, well, his Martin, one. But yeah, I mean, I just love that album. It's probably the album I've listened to the most in the last 2 weeks. So
I'm totally gonna listen to it now. I have not checked it out yet, so I will listen to that. What's the name of the album? Oh, did I
oh,
just I
so bad
stumped
at
you?
not the name of the album. Uh, man, is it? I don't know if it's called Family Ties or not. I know that's the lead single.
Okay. Well,
I'll
All Again
forget.
is the song you picked,
Yeah,
so
I just really like it. Yeah, it's called Family Ties. That's what
Family
it's called.
Ties. Okay. Well, I'll be checking that out this weekend, so look forward to that. And then you picked some Avett songs, and one of them I see we picked two different versions, and I think it's part of what you were talking about before, Souls Like the Wheels. One is a full band and one is a Seth solo. Tell me about those.
Well, those, just because it's such a different, and it's actually one of the full band versions of kind of a ballad that I really personally like. I know some people will feel much differently about that, but I actually do love the full band version of it. Not saying it's better than Seth's solo, but I actually am just happy. I really like that song. I like the full band version. I think it is, yes, it's up tempo and it's happier. And then there's Seth's version, which is more of like, someone in their bedroom singing this,
Yeah, it's like a haunting
yeah,
version.
the song about trying to get over something and let something go, and just these big life moments that happen to you that, you try to get over.
It's fun to
When
listen to both versions because it's
Yeah.
the same song, but they're so different.
Yeah. So then, I mean, yeah, the full band version feels a little bit more like a celebration over that, like you've gotten over the hump of this event, to me. And the times I've gotten it live, I've really enjoyed it. That's all I can say. So, I mean, that's how I feel about that song. And some people I know are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe this.
And
But,
Seth Solo's version is like he's in the midst of that heartache or whatever. Yeah,
so
that's so two good choices there. And then you picked, well, we kind of already talked about these songs. Be Kind to a Man When He's Down. I think I'm gonna lead off the episode with that song. Tell me more about that one.
that's just one of their old time song that I was there for that show. So I mean, I had that connection
Nice.
to that. They've only played it a couple times. I think they played it with Old Crow Medicine's show, and then they played it in Indianapolis.
And that's it.
So yeah, I just like it. And I think it's Bob's best moment on the fiddle, in my opinion. I think
That's
he's really
that's the one
good.
where Bob takes it home at the end, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I just love that part. I love it when they have those little moments of saying, like that. So I just always like that cover. And they were all standing around the condenser mic playing that
Right.
song. So I just like that one.
All right. And the last one, I think I have to play it last because of how they ended all those shows with a good night, sweetheart, good night.
And the funny thing is, I will say, by the end of 2014, obviously, I was so sick of that song because I went to the St. Louis 3-night run, the Louisville 3-night run, and some other shows in between there. And so I'd gotten it a bunch, and I was like, oh my God, why are they ending with this song? I was done with it. By the time we got to Louisville, I was done with it.
Did they
But
play it past 2014, or was that just
no, they haven't.
it was
No,
just it
it
for
went
that
away.
year?
It went away.
So
Yeah.
they probably got sick of playing it too then by the end of the year.
Well, yeah. And but now I think is I listened to it back while obviously I was working on this, and my feelings. There's been enough time that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this. I feel better about
Well,
it.
that's good. It's a great song. I think it's a good way to end the show too. I think No Hard Feelings. It's funny to hear people complain about how they end shows,
Yeah.
and I'm sure people complained about Good Night, Sweetheart.
Oh yes, they
And
did.
people are complaining about No Hard Feelings, and I don't get I don't know how you feel about No Hard Feelings, but
Yeah, I'm
I
fine with
can't
it.
imagine complaining about ending with that song because it's the perfect song to end with.
And I mean, I'm assuming that from their standpoint, all of their work has led to being able to make that song. And, I'm sure if they were to choose, that define them as artists, that would be one of the songs. you know, and
Definitely.
probably along with Murder in the City,
Yeah.
you know, it's, you know, so this is where we are. You know, I don't know how long if it'll last forever, or they will, next year will be the end of it being at the end, but I'm okay with it. I don't think it's a bad way to go home.
I love
I'm
it.
okay with them keeping that. I would like to see some other changes throughout the set list. I'll take that over and them keeping No Hard Feelings. So
Yeah. Like other songs off their last album that I would like to hear, It's Raining Today, When You Learn.
yeah.
Why is that song never played? That's a beautiful
I have
song.
no idea. That's quite, you know, I have no idea why the fire hasn't been played off
That too,
13.
yeah.
Why there's several songs, you know, how come, you know, Prison to Heaven's never been played? Like, I
Exactly.
boggled
Yes.
my mind.
That would
Like,
be maybe it's gonna happen next year and they're
if I
gonna
was to
really mix things up.
I try not to complain too much, and I'm pretty thankful for any of it,
Right.
but I would cut I Wish I Was in a heartbeat. I know
I
that
love that
so many
song.
people have a connection to it because of the documentary,
Sure, sure.
but for it to take up space all of the time, like to
Yeah.
be played at every show, I'm kind of like, yeah, I'm be all right for it to go away.
There's so many
You know,
songs that they haven't played that really should be, and you're right. But like you said, I'm not gonna complain about it. If I'm at a show, I'm happy with
and,
whatever they play because
and
just to be in the moment is amazing there.
from their standpoint, I understand they're looking, oh, 25 songs. Okay.
Yeah.
And we're not going to have 12 ballads, you know,
Right.
so songs they're, you know, I mean, they're trying to work in, and then, you know, when they feel the pressure, well, there's going to be, I may not want to hear I Wish I Was, but somebody out there is going to, like
Of
they saw
course.
May It Last and they want
It
to see it.
right,
So
that's exactly
I
what they're
get all
probably
of that,
thinking.
you
They've gotta
know,
be thinking
so,
that may it last, it's like,
but
a baseball player
yeah.
playing hard because somebody in the crowd is there for the first time seeing them, so they think maybe that people wanna hear these songs.
But I do know, I think that at some point you got to remember that, you know, it's a weird balance. I think that they're going to have to come to terms with of like, you know, you need your fan, but you also got to give something to your fans of who's, you know, maybe been to 50 shows, 70 shows, 30 shows.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to give them something. I mean, I mean, and not only for the fans, but for you at some point and to challenge your fans. It's okay. I think, how are fans going to know what else you made and what else it sounds like if you don't play it?
Right.
I mean, I just think so. We're at I think if next year there isn't some more shaken up, that's the point they're going to be at. Like, you're either going to, so are you just going to do this, or are you going to
Mm,
start to mix it up? I mean, I think we'll come to a point where it's going to have to gonna go one way or the other.
that's scary, actually, that
So,
is kinda
but I
scary,
think
like,
I think I know which way it'll go. I'm pretty confident in them. I
I
think
hope
they'll come
so.
back around
If
and they'll be
Scott's
more.
listening, though, play When You Learn, please. I would die if he play I wouldn't die, I'd be
I
so
mean, I
happy.
feel like, did they forget that they wrote the song? I mean, that would be my guess. Do they not know the words anymore? That's all possible.
That
Like they would have to actually have band practice to learn it. But that, you know,
maybe they do practice them, and maybe
well,
they are planning on it, and
I don't
they just
know.
haven't felt comfortable enough to play them yet? I
But
don't
you know, I mean, obviously, when it's somebody's 50 or 100th show, they request a song, and if it's a rare song, you know, they have to work on it that
Oh,
day,
sure.
sound check because they don't know it.
Right.
You know,
They have a lot of songs, I can't imagine I would never be able to do it, 'cause I can't remember anything, so I would
well,
be
this,
awful.
my thing is, I break it down like this: 25 song set list. I would be okay if, say, 18 to 17 are chosen from a pool of like 20, right?
Yeah,
And then those other remaining 6 to 7 songs should be chosen from a pool of, say, 40.
yeah,
We would get a huge mix of
that would
things. We
be
would, at that point, we would get Please Pardon Yourself more. Could maybe get When You Learn, could get, you know, Weight of Lies a couple extra times, could
yeah,
get, I mean, that's all I think people's asking for. And that to me would be a good mix and compromise for them to do. Like, so you're still getting Kick Drum, A Head Full of Doubt, you know, Ain't No Man within the 17 to 18.
yeah,
And there's that other remaining part. We'll pick from this pool of songs that you hardly really maybe only get played, you know, 1 to 5 times a year.
That's a
if
great
that.
idea.
And there you go. So that's still not asking you to play Kind of in Love or Beside the Yellow Line,
Yeah.
but you would still play again, Weight of Lies, or
Or
something like that, something a little less.
throw Yard Sale in there or something,
Yeah, exactly.
So drop an email and throw that suggestion out there, and
Oh, they don't listen to me.
maybe they
They
will,
got
though. You never
nothing,
know. You never know. So the database, db.nov.blue, db.novemberblue. The database is awesome. We have like 3 minutes left here.
Okay.
I know there's changes coming. We can't really talk about that yet because it's not set or anything, but uh what's been going on with it? I know there's a lot of people on there, and
Yeah.
there's so much detail on there. It's crazy.
I'm trying to remember how many users there are. We're not quite to 10,000, but I think it's 7 or 8, maybe thousand,
Okay.
like people signed up, something to that effect. There will be lots of changes, and I think it will be the best site for a band that there is on the internet. So
That's cool.
I mean, that's, in my opinion, it's the absolute best. And I've looked at everything, and I think it'll be the best. But I don't really want to give anything away. I think, Paul deserves a lot of credit, as much as, I mean, I have ideas, and I'm a lot of ideas and a lot of things that's on there. I mean, I have a lot, but Paul really implemented it and found someone to help build it. And
you won't crack either. I've been trying to get you to tell me some stuff, and you won't. So
yeah,
this
I
is
mean,
like,
I'd rather everyone get to see it.
yeah,
And
that's so I'm
then
excited.
it will hopefully get Paul, or you can get Paul, and we'll talk about it.
Sure.
Then after everyone can see it, because then you've got a chance to use it,
That's
and then we'll
cool.
be able to talk about it. So
Let's do that. I look forward to that, and can't wait. When do you think
sometime this year would be the hope.
this year? Because there's only a
Yeah,
couple months left.
I know. Yeah,
Oh,
hopefully this year. I don't know. We'll
okay. I
see.
won't hold
But
you
it should
to
be
it, but
this year.
that's pretty exciting. All right. All right. So patreon.com/long story short. If you haven't followed Tim's Patreon, please go do it. It's the best few dollars you'll spend per month. And if you're an Avid fan, you will eat it up. Tim, awesome talking with you as always. I can't wait to get you back on. Maybe we'll do it within the
I'll
next
come
couple
back.
months.
I'll come back. We could do any number of things, like the history of New Year's Eve.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good
We'll
idea.
come up with something.
History of New Year's Eve would be fun. All right. So let's plan that one for like late December, obviously. Okay. And maybe we'll get Paul on with you and be able to talk about that database too.
If that happens, yes, we'll do that. So
cool. All right. Well, Tim Mossberger, thank you so much for coming on. We look forward to listening to your music now, and we'll talk soon.
all right, thanks.
All right. Yeah. Take care.